your immediate reaction to this ceasefire coming in? It came at about 4 a.m. Australian time last night. We'd known there'd been some progress over the past few days. What did you make of it, and what do you make of some of the terms that's included?
A complicated deal, but it's a mixed bag of hope and worry and concern. The details are very, as I said, intricate and detailed, and are actually, as we speak, are being ironed out the last few technical details. Um, it's not like a simple prisoner exchange deal where you just exchange people with the additional issues. This is a deal that includes redeployment of forces, incoming aid, movement of other forces, terms of how the Israeli army would operate, which prisoners on the Israelis or Palestinian prisoners will be released, and their names. It's a very complicated, there's lots of things hanging on it. But there is hope here that the loved ones that were kept in the worst conditions in the tunnels of Gaza will finally see the light of day, and the people, their families and friends in Israel.
It's been some time since we actually had any progress regarding a ceasefire deal. There's been people pointing out, though, that much of what is included here, has been discussed for months on end. What's changed in the past few weeks that has made this possible?
The return of Donald Trump to the White House, that was the major game changer. And what Trump brought to the table is not only his credibility as somebody who says what he means and means what he says, but also an ability to create some leverage over both sides, mostly the Israeli side, but also the mediators, Qatar and Egypt, and indirectly also on Hamas. So what we see is that the Israeli government wanted to get from Trump when he goes into office. They want the big bag of carrots or benefits that he might be bring to the Israeli public, so such as most notably dealing with the Iranian threat. The Qataris and the Egyptians stood to lose with the souring relations with the U.S. New government, and the Hamas started to really believe that if they don't stick up to the deadline that Trump set by January 20 when he assumes office to agree to the deal, that Israel will be allowed, with Trump's backing, to actually go crazy, stop aid, attack fiercely the last strongholds of Hamas in Gaza. So Trump brought something that outgoing lame duck Biden couldn't.
And just on that, what was the Biden administration doing wrong here? They've had more than a year at this point. Joe Biden has talked about on the Israel side, he's talked about red lines, but ultimately, as we've kind of mentioned here, right? There hasn't been talk of a ceasefire for quite some time. What were they doing wrong?
I don't think they've done anything wrong, just their ability to get to the end line. When Listen, what Biden did for Israel, and actually in support of the war in general for all sides, I think, is quite impressive. He sent enormous amounts of weapons. He backed Israel in international forums. He sent the head of the CIA, William Burns, to numerous times to the Middle East. It's a very long flight. They sat on hours and hours and hours discussing the small details, but he couldn't get the added value inside or influencing the Israeli politics or Israeli government, which is again, a very complex government coalition of right wingers to actually get the deal approved. Only Trump could bring that sort of extra to have the people objecting to the deal inside the Israeli government approve, and to have Hamas believe that Israel is really serious. If Biden is holding Israel from attacking all the way, then Hamas has no interest in being flexible. If Hamas believes that Hezbollah and Iran are going to help him, which eventually they got beaten by Israel, then he has no, motives to be flexible. So that's what Biden tried but couldn't bring.
You mentioned it there, and it's an interesting segue regarding, some of the elements of Israel's governing coalition, and it is pretty far spread at points in terms of viewpoints. on the Israeli side, there have been some ministers who have been quoted as being critical of the ceasefire agreement and of the talks in the past few days. And of course, on the Gaza side, with thousands dead, there are going to be, I imagine many Gazans who are extremely angry at Israel right now. And do you think that is going to hamper future peace efforts if this doesn't if this doesn't hold, or if because this is going to go on for months. Obviously, it's a broader conflict and it's not ending right now.
The conflict did not start on October 7th, 2023, and it will not end 42 days from now. It's a deep, very prolonged conflict. Some say call it the most prolonged in history, but whatever it is, um, the seeds for change are here. It could go either way, and the responsibility of the international community, and I include Australia in this sort of statement, is to step in and make sure that Hamas is actually does not regain power, pouring lots of money to reconstruct Gaza, helping Israel to heal from the heavy wounds that are still bleeding after October 7th, the internal divisions and other issues. And the first step must be the release of the hostages. That is a vital step. And we should talk about stability first and foremost, because Gaza is not stable. And without extensive help and support and from all sides, it will remain unstable. And with lack of stability comes future problems.
You mentioned it there as well, regarding stability. Broadly for the Middle East, there's been so much that has happened outside of Israel and Gaza over the past year. When you look at Syria, when you look at Lebanon, you look at Iran. Do you think that that is going to continue to cause problems potentially for obviously Israel, who aren't, to put it mildly, friendly with some of these countries? So yeah, how do you think the broader Middle East situation is going to develop?
I think what we see in the Middle East that it didn't happen. Israel made it happen. And the evil dream of Yahya Sinwar, the arch-terrorist that came up with the evil idea of October 7th to change the Middle East by destroying Israel, it turned on its head. What we saw is that Israel had brilliantly, so almost dismantled Hezbollah in Lebanon, which resulted in the rise of pro-Saudi, pro-West government in Lebanon. We saw the fall of Bashar that was left alone without Hezbollah. There is a big question mark around Syria. I must think about that. I must say that it's a jihadist government there. It's still an open question. We see the dismantling of Iraqi militias. So there's lots of things that are actually sort of unfolding through this domino effect, and for possibly a better future for the Middle East. But it depends on how much the Trump administration is committed to removing the major threat of the Iranian government and its nuclear weapons program. And it depends on how much the international community steps in to stabilize the Palestinian situation. There needs to be a big input of help, of money, of support, of all sorts of elements that are needed there.